Broadcasting from the Penguin Air Plumbing and Electrical Studios, we're your hosts, Will Hallett and Wade Rusk, and this is the Penguin Pro Show. Today is episode 9, and we're going to be talking about tankless water heaters. The Penguin Pro Show is an informative podcast talking about air conditioning, heating, plumbing, and electrical systems in the home. Each week, we'll bring on a panel of professionals to educate listeners on different topics related to these systems. Today, we are joined by Jack Berger. He is a rep with RepNet. That's hard to say, a rep with RepNet.
Yeah.
And our Penguin Pros, Landon Stanley and Louie Macias. Landon is one of our plumbers here on our plumbing team, and Louie is our plumbing manager. So welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Yeah, Landon's first time on the show.
First timer.
And I'll get to Jack here in a minute, but I want to talk to this guy over here a little bit, Louie.
Yes.
He's in the hot seat.
Okay.
Wade's not here. Wade's still in Miami. He's flying back today.
Is he?
Yeah, so he'll be back tomorrow.
That's awesome. Is he having fun?
He says he's having fun.
Yeah.
He had a business lunch out there yesterday, and happens to be spring break in Miami. So
What's the weather like right now?
I don't know. He said it was nice though.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, and then Landon's, how long you been with us now, Landon?
2 years.
2 years?
Yep.
You still liking it?
Loving it.
Awesome.
Love it here.
Tell me a little bit about your background getting into plumbing.
So I got into, I always kind of did a little bit of plumbing. My stepdad owns a remodeling company. My dad was a plumber in Chicago. My uncle owns a plumbing company in Chicago. So I was always kind of in it. When I first got into it, I was 20, almost 21, and I actually went to a company where they made you do both, AC and plumbing.
Okay.
So I did both, and then I just really liked the plumbing, so I just kind of dropped the AC part and just went full plumbing.
Awesome. So what made you like plumbing over air?
The attics. I was installing AC units a lot. Where I worked, you did the install, you did the service, you did, everything. It wasn't so much of a this guy does this or this guy does that. So I was kind of just doing everything, and I was like, man, after all these years, I want to get out of the attic. So I like the plumbing. I like helping people.
Yeah.
So either one was good for me, but just getting out of those hot attics.
Yeah, that's what's great about home services is you do get to work with people, right? You're not doing all that new construction or TIs or remodels, and you have that personality.
Yeah.
In fact, I heard that you were on a commercial.
Yeah.
As a little kid.
When I was a little kid, I was a peanut butter commercial. So
Say the line.
I love Jiffy peanut butter.
Wow.
I could eat it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
And that's
But my mom wouldn't let me do that.
how long? Oh, is that?
That's what
I
it
was
was.
interrupting. Sorry.
Cutting him off.
I know.
I still.
Oh, the
power
line
through it.
does say that.
That's what the
My
line.
mom wouldn't let me. Oh, okay, okay.
But my mom.
Can I
wouldn't let me
Google
do
that and find it?
I don't know. I don't know if you can or if you could ever find it.
How
or-
old were you?
I was like a little kid, like 5 maybe.
Wow.
6. I remember I went to the first audition and then the second one, and then I went to the filming. And
Okay. Maybe
And then I
Jonathan
think
can
my
find
older
that episode.
brother-
We have to find
That
that.
my
commercial.
older brother got jealous, I guess, because I was kind of tagging along with him. And so then my mom stopped taking me. I was like, I could have been a star.
Wow.
But
Movie star. Now you're a plumber.
even better.
All right. And Louie,
Yes.
Louie, do you remember last episode you were on? What you were gonna do?
Oh, you were serious.
Why not? If we got 5-year-old commercial Jiffy boy over here.
You are.
Whoa. Keep going.
All right. My fire. No, I can't do it, dude.
All
I'm
right.
under pressure right now, and my
Luke-
voice is just not there right now. I woke up, and I thought about plumbing, not singing.
Well,
I'm ready.
all the ladies are gonna love that little teaser there. So, Jonathan's in the background with a lighter.
Yeah. Thank you, Jonathan. I appreciate the positivity.
That was
You're my
first-
fire.
That was my first NSYNC concert ever.
So Louie
right now.
said he was gonna sing on the next episode. That was just a little tease. Maybe we can get more prepared for the next show.
I need Wade here.
We need you need Wade.
Yeah.
Why?
Because the way he looks into my eyes when we're talking, it brings a different kind of just animal out of me.
All right, nobody's gonna work for Penguin now. All right, so, well, gentlemen, thank you for joining us. Louie, thanks for joining again. And then I'm
Thank
gonna
you.
introduce Jack here. Jack is with RepNet. RepNet is a a vendor, so to
Local
speak.
manufacturer's representative
Okay.
for plumbing products.
And we're going to be talking about Tankless. So what's the product we're going to be talking about?
Tankless in general, just to talk about some of the differences, changes, how it's come about, where
Okay.
it started, where it's at now. We represent Navien as a brand.
Okay.
Navien is very innovative in the tankless industry in the fact that they keep doing all these firsts that no one else did. Back in the early 2000s when they came to the U.S. from South Korea, they were the first tankless manufacturer to introduce a recirculating system inside the box.
Okay. So
And
they're
that was
innovators in the
Very
industry.
innovative.
And we'll get into that as we get into the show here. But Jack, kind of tell me a little bit about your background, how you got into what you do, and then we'll get into kind of the pros of tankless water heaters. I have actually some history on tankless water heaters that I want to talk about that I researched. So why don't you talk a little bit about your background?
Kind of like Landon, in the construction industry as a kid. My family remodeled houses, and so we kind of, did those add-ons, additions from the ground up. Digging the trenches, running the sewer pipe, laying the foundation, building walls, putting on trusses, everything from the shingles down to the plumbing under the ground, and everything in between. Probably more affiliated on the electrical side as far as what my kind of focus was growing up. And then I hired on with the company that I work with now, RepNet, as a plumbing warehouse manager. Basically, as I was graduating from college, I was just working part-time, managing the warehouse, putting stuff away, finding out what gadgets and widgets were in the warehouse. Mm-hmm. And then after I finished college, I kind of moved into an inside sales, and that rapidly turned into outside sales. So just the plumbing and electrical background has kind of got me just still into the construction trade. And this was a little bit easier on the bones. I'm not under cabinets all day long like Landon over there. So this kind of helped me out. With a degree in marketing, it was kind of a perfect fit for me. I don't need to sell something. I need to sell myself.
Right.
If I can sell myself, I can sell the widget. It don't matter.
That's
All right.
awesome.
That is cool.
That's
That's
awesome.
cool. So Jack, we were visiting earlier. You said you've been with the company like 20 years now?
Yeah, since 2000.
Okay.
I started on in the warehouse in 2000 and kind of gradually worked my way through the company. And in the last 2 years, I've become a minor principal of the agency. So literally working from the warehouse to the top.
Awesome.
Wow.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
Well, good.
awesome.
I'm going to be more the customer today, guys, because I have a lot of questions, actually. Being an AC guy, AC is what I did for 20 years.
Yeah.
Now I'm, with Wade, we're the owners of Penguin Air Plumbing and Electrical. But so thankful for you to come on and talk about this. So I did some background research on water heaters.
You found some cool stuff. I learned a lot from you today.
Yeah, and I've been to Rome. Have you guys ever been to Rome?
No.
And, Rome, the Romans were incredible, right? They did some amazing things.
Talk about
construction-wise.
innovators.
Innovators, right? Of course, they came out with those baths, and they were the first ones to really get into hot water. We take it for granted, right?
Correct.
And taking it for granted, I've lived outside the States before. For 2 years, I lived out in Guatemala in the depths of the jungle, and
Wow.
and not having hot water. Sometimes we'd have to heat water on a stove and then dump it into colder water in a tub and take our baths that way.
To blend it.
Blend it. Or they had this electrical point of use right at the not point of use, but instant hot water right at the shower head.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
wow.
it would electrocute you
Wow.
if you stood up and hit it, right? So it's come a long way. But tank water heaters really started coming about in the late 1800s, so 1890. And before that, there was a guy that came out before in the 1860s with tank water heaters, but they weren't safe. They were blowing up. They were the carbon dioxide. There was no flue venting for them.
Jeez.
So in the 1990s, we've all heard of this guy in the industry, right? Now, we were having this discussion earlier. Is it Ruud or Rudd,
I hear it both ways all the time.
right?
What do you call it, Landon?
Rud.
Rudd?
Rudd.
Because I don't like to tell customers rude.
Now, I've heard it's rude to say rude.
Oh, really? I don't know. I just like, hey, yeah, we're going to put a rude water heater in there.
So
Like,
it's
what?
R-U-U-D.
I say Rud.
Correct.
So Rudd. And he was the first one to come out with a tank water heater that was safe for homes, right?
And you said 1990. I think you meant 1890.
1890. Did I say 1990?
You just did, yeah.
Oops. So 1890 is when they came out with the first tank water heater for homes. Yeah. And then that evolved and what it is today with tank water heaters, right? And then in the early 1900s, so 1920s, is when tankless water heaters started coming about. Now this really was happening in Europe, Asia.
Yeah.
And then it didn't get to the States till the 70s.
Wow.
With tankless.
Tankless.
Yeah.
And then in the 90s, it really started to take off. But there's only really a 7% market share of tankless water heaters today in the market in the United States. So we're a little behind, but we're going to talk a little bit about that, why that is. And you kind of mentioned that. So let's start talking about the pros of tank water heaters. Why it's better than tankless, pros of tankless over tank water heaters.
Typically, the first thing that always comes to mind is just the endless hot water or on demand, meaning that if you've got a family of 5, the last person doesn't run out of hot water halfway through the shower if everybody's showering back to back in the morning getting ready for school and work. That's been one of the biggest selling points of tankless is the endless hot water. When you start talking about the 1970s as far as, when it first came to the States, and then the 1990s really is kind of when it started taking off in the States, the concept of tankless wasn't designed for the U.S. market in the fact that we build our homes bigger than where they were originally being installed at overseas. So the units had a challenge as far as figuring out how this unit worked, using it in a different application. So it's come a long ways in a short period of time when you just start looking at the advancements in technology. We talk about tankless water heaters, and when you talk about the 90s, you're talking about 2 or 3 gallons per minute. It's endless hot water, but it's not a big boost of water to begin with. Right. We've come a long ways in the fact that now you can get 8 or 9 gallons per minute out of a gas tankless water heater. That's enough to run 3 or 4 showers at the same time, so you can have multiple people showering at the same time. We build homes here a little bit differently. 5 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, as opposed to 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom. It needs to be able to have a bigger boost to be able to provide more hot water. So that endless hot water is really what's changing the dynamics of people looking to go away from the traditional tank water heater to nowadays the tankless.
You said 8 to 10 gallons?
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's that's using what I would call the biggest residential model, which is 199,000 BTU tankless. Anything over that becomes a commercially rated, and it's going to be a really expensive appliance. We're trying to keep those costs down to make them affordable for every homeowner.
Well, I went to a laundromat yesterday, and he's running all of his systems off of 2 Navians that are in series. Is what it's called, right?
Yeah, the term that Navien as the manufacturer uses is in cascade mode.
Cascade, yeah.
And then obviously the term series, you don't want to run tankless in series. It's always going to be piped in parallel.
Yeah.
You want to get equal distribution out of all the heaters. You don't want to daisy chain them one into the next, whereas you do that with the traditional tank type water heater.
Yeah, so just imagine running all those industrial washers on hot, and it's just those 2 water heaters that are on the wall that are doing all the work.
Yeah.
Wow. So how does a tank water heater work versus a tankless? Can you explain that to our listeners a little bit? I don't know who wants to take that, but
I'll start. Tank type water heaters hold a specific volume of water 24 hours a day. Doesn't matter if it's morning, afternoon, or evening. So if it's a 30-gallon tank type water heater, it has to hold 30 gallons of water and keep it hot all the time, utilizing a little bit more fuel, a little less efficiency because now you've got heat loss, whereas a traditional tankless water heater doesn't have that because typically it's on demand. It only makes the hot water when somebody turns on a faucet. So now you're only using energy, you're only heating the water when somebody is specifically asking for it. So that's going to be the biggest difference is we're not holding whatever the volume of water is 24 hours a day. We can only heat the water, or we only heat the water when someone needs hot water. And that really cuts back on the fuel consumption. We've got to be real conscientious about fossil fuels. We see everything going on right now with the gas pipelines and all that. Fossil fuels are a valuable entity, and if we run out of them, we can't get them back. So going away from the traditional tank type water heater is a great way to cut back on your fuel consumption.
Okay, so
One of the other big things about it is you don't have 50 gallons of water waiting to burst or flood or damage your property at any time. And with the tankless, it's cool because all you have to do is install one of those automatic shutoff valves before it gets to the water heater. If it ever has a leak, it shuts off. No water loss, no damage. It really saves you a lot of heartache and a lot of headache.
No leaks.
so insurance companies love tankless water heaters,
They do.
Oh, yeah.
right?
It's probably, washing machine hoses and water heaters are the biggest causes of water damage in
Right.
every residential
Floods.
application.
Now, Landon, I'm gonna put you on the hot seat real quick.
Sure.
So, you show up to a customer's house, never heard of a tankless before, never heard of it. How do you introduce it to them, or how do you? Because I know you're perfect at educating them,
Sure.
because customers love you, right? Because you educate them. But how do I say you show up? I'm a customer, never heard of it before. I got a tank in my garage. It's leaking. It's not flooding yet, but it's leaking. How do you introduce?
So I always start with questions, right? Probing the customer. So how was this water heater before it started leaking? Did it do good for you guys? Oh yeah, it was good. Towards the end, we were kind of running out of hot water. Oh yeah, that's a problem sometimes. Well, with a 50-gallon water heater, you'll never get 50 gallons of hot water because as the hot water goes out, the cold water comes in. We have tankless units now that can provide endless hot water. How many kids do you have here? Tell about the kids. Oh, so with your lifestyle, you got like multiple kids bathing at the same time while your wife's down doing the dishes or blah blah blah, and kind of go over all that and like, oh yeah, you guys would be great for a tankless. It's gonna save you space here. You put this here, and kind of just explain it all to them like that. Start with the question always though.
Always.
And if you're like, hey, how was it? And they're like, oh, it was great. It was a great unit. And then you're like, oh, okay, well, do you ever run out of hot water? You just kind of probe a little bit more. And then at the end of the day, unfortunately, like sometimes tankless isn't for absolutely everyone. Yeah. And it just is what it is.
You've got to qualify that customer to find that out, though.
You do.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're like, you've got them sold on a tankless, and then you're like, oh, crap, the vent comes up here, runs over there, then it runs through this wall. The gas line is, 40 feet away. Oh, that's way longer than the 25 that we need for now we got to do gas work, and then you just...
So not everybody's a candidate.
Not everyone is. You got to make sure they are qualifying.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like
Yeah, that brings up a good point because, like my house, for example, I've been wanting to put tankless in this house since I bought it a year ago. It's a 20-year-old home, and the problem I have in the house is it's a two-story. One is, I have 4 bathrooms in this house. Okay, and I don't have a loop for water treatment. Okay. And that's another story because my pool would have to be softened, and we'd have to reroute all the water to the pool now.
And your landscaping probably all comes off the main line as opposed
All
to
this-
the line going
My
specifically
house was
to
never
it.
set up for it. So until we have time to get plumbers over there to really tear up my yard, I can do tankless, I can do water treatment. But yeah, not everyone's a candidate, and it can become a big investment if so. But over time, it can pay for itself because we're going to get into that. Another pro, Jack, is that system, okay, will last a lot longer than a tank water heater. 'Cause,
Longevity.
what's the life of a tank water heater?
They typically have a 6-year warranty.
Yeah.
Most people are
After
lucky to
10
get much
years,
than that. Yeah.
After 10 years, I always tell my customer, oh, it's over 10 years old, you're on borrowed time,
Okay.
especially in Arizona.
And what is the life expectancy of a tankless water heater?
Pretty much double that, about 20 years.
I was going to say about 25
Yeah,
years.
20
That's a
to 25
15-year
years.
warranty on the heat exchanger, and that's usually the only real problem with them if there ever is one.
Okay, so you have a longer warranty. It's going to last longer. But to maintain that warranty, is there anything specific that the manufacturer wants you to do?
Absolutely, especially in the Southwest. We've got really hard water, and water treatment is always something we recommend, regardless of product, tank or tankless. Quite honestly, like Landon mentioned earlier, that 6-year-old tank, maybe it started out at a 65% efficient unit, but year over year, it starts getting buildup inside of it and sediment. It starts losing its efficiency. It starts losing that ability of heating up 50 gallons of hot water. By the time it's done at 10 years, there might only be 30 gallons of capacity in the tank. tankless water heaters, same way as, we want to make sure that we're maintaining them. Putting some form of water treatment on it is always recommended just to help reduce the amount of scale buildup inside of the heat exchanger. That also helps prolong the appliance and keeps that efficiency rating. When you go from tank to tankless, you're talking about a much more efficient unit.
Okay. So there's some other things that we have to talk about or educate the customer on to make sure we get maximize the efficiency of that tankless water heater.
Yeah,
right?
and just like a normal tank water heater, you should be flushing it and draining it out and getting all that sediment build out
Regular
every
maintenance.
year. Well, with like a tankless, what would you say? Probably 2 years.
At minimum every 2 years.
You go and you do a chemical flush and you descale everything and you kind of like get it nice and clean, and that way it keeps the heat exchanger on point and like keeping the water hot. And it's like when they kind of get built up, like they'll have the hot water on, they're like, yeah, it was really nice and hot, and then it dropped down in temperature, and then it got really, really hot, and then I was messing with the thing. So keeping that heat exchanger clean, and that's what the softener does, that's what flushing it does, all that.
Yeah.
Okay.
You got to I don't care if you get the best car in the world, you still have to change the oil. So
Right.
you can't just think, oh, it's a tankless, it's the best thing, why do I have to maintenance it? Well, you have to maintenance everything.
Yeah, well, I mentioned this earlier.
Yeah.
Air conditioning units. You're from the HVAC side. Everybody knows you got to change your air filters every month or however often it needs to be done. That concept hasn't transitioned into the plumbing world yet. Water heaters need maintenance.
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah, a lot of them don't know that, and that's why we go out. We have a maintenance plan, and we do a lot of the maintenance. A lot of people, when we go to flush these water heaters, have never done it.
Yeah.
And there could be, a third of the tank could have sediment on it.
About a quarter.
Of it,
Yeah.
Which you're losing efficiency. So same thing with tankless. I'm sure that can build up if you don't have water treatment on the system.
Absolutely. You lose some of your temperature. If the heater's set at 120 degrees, if you've got a lot of scale buildup inside of the heater, you can't get that heat transferred into the water as well. So now you're actually wasting money up the exhaust because all the heat's going out the exhaust instead of going into the water.
So a lot of people start seeing a lot of dollar signs as we're talking about this, right? Water treatment, tankless, but it's so much more healthier. You're saving money in the long run.
Correct.
Okay. It's hard to see that initial investment is going to save you money, but it's going to save you money.
Health is something we didn't even discuss earlier today, but Legionella's disease is a big topic on
Okay.
everybody's mind. You can't get Legionella's in a tankless water heater. There is no standing water. It's constantly renewing the water in the system.
Okay. I didn't know that.
Yep.
Yeah. So these are things that we need to be educating our listeners about and our customers. It's very important that it's not just, okay, I'm never going to run out of hot water ever again, right? Louie, I mean, we talk about this all the time, is how can we educate customers more and more about the advantages of these things. That's probably why it hasn't hit the States, not only because of the big homes, but it's cheaper to put a tank water heater in the home. These
It is.
builders put these tank water heaters in there. I see it in the future because I said earlier, we only have a 7% market share in the United States of tankless water heaters.
I think that number might be a little higher today.
10?
Yeah, I think we're closer to 15.
That was in 16. I read
Yeah,
that
we're probably
article.
closer to 15% now, almost 20%.
Are we starting to see new builds
Yes.
with tankless
Yeah.
water
Yes,
heaters?
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we see them.
We see a lot of the national builders are actually starting to put tanklesses as a standard and not just an optional upgrade.
This is what's hard about that, though, is it's only the more higher end builders that are doing that, because you just can't have any run of the mill plumber go do a tankless water heater. It takes a little more finesse. It takes a little bit more work. You got to do a little bit of a cleaner job. The other ones pull the old tank out, set the old tank where that one was, and then
Right.
you're gone. This one you're hanging on the
Easy.
wall. You're doing the piping. So it takes a higher caliber of plumber to install the tankless. So some of the lower end builders, they're not paying the extra for the higher end plumbers to come and do the tankless. So that's one of the things too, I think I
Okay.
thought about.
So are we seeing? So we're starting to see an influx of tankless water heaters, even on the bigger homes.
Yeah.
Are there like two now? Tankless
We've
water
got a
heaters?
couple local builders here. I don't know if I can use names or not, but they're putting 2 standard in every one of their homes because it's a 5,000 square foot home with 4 or 5 bathrooms. It's a semi-custom home. It's not your everyday track home, but in a semi-custom home where they're putting 25, 30 homes per project, they're putting 2 standard in these applications.
Now, is it better to put one inside the house or outside the house?
We're in a pretty warm climate. It's probably
Yeah.
safe to put them on the outside of the house. Some of the manufacturers, us as well, we've got recessed cabinets where the unit's
I was
actually
gonna say,
protected.
that's where I see them a lot outside,
Yeah.
where they're like almost like electrical panel, but it's recessed
Yeah,
into the wall.
looks like a locker. Open the locker door, and inside of there is a water heater.
Yeah, my sister has one outside and one inside, right?
Inside and outside.
In fact, we can bring up my sister's application because
Right.
this is a good point. My sister has a really large home up in Paradise Valley, and this home has 2 tankless water heaters on it. But she's taking forever to get hot water to her master bathroom.
Yeah.
And and that might be a little bit of con, but we tried to put recirculation pumps on there. What on your products? We talked about this.
Yeah.
What are some things that your products can do to take care of that? Because, like we said, it's not turn on the faucet, the hot water's there.
Yeah.
The benefit is that you're continually having hot water once it gets there.
Correct.
It'll never run out.
Right.
My wife takes a bathtub like twice a day, and she fills that thing up. And
Yeah. And that's something you're right. We talked about earlier, but that's kind of been one of the biggest miseducations, if you will, of tankless water heaters. Everybody thinks it's instant hot water, and it's not. It's endless hot water. You have to integrate some form of recirculation, or like your story in Guatemala, point of use. Put the water heater right at the actual hot source.
Right.
You know, those are the 2 ways to get instant hot water: is integrate some form of recirculation or install a point of use appliance. With traditional tankless water heaters, it's endless hot water. We've got to do that recirculation. Navien, being the innovators, like we said, you know, they put a recirc pump in their unit from the get-go,
Okay.
giving customers the option of saying, hey, do you want this unit to be strictly on demand, meaning you're only heating water when you need it? That's going to be the most efficient and most effective way of heating water without additional cost incurred. Adding that recirculation pump gives us the flexibility of providing the customer with the instant hot water, but now the pump's going to run a little bit more often, so now we're going to use a little bit more fuel than if it was just on demand only. But with the efficiencies of these new condensing tankless water heaters being above 95%, I mean, you're talking about almost a 30% monthly savings in your gas bill on average, even when you're running that recirculating pump. So now you're providing the best of both worlds.
Wow.
Fuel efficiency, cost savings, and that instant hot water, that comfort. When I turn on the faucet, I don't got to wait 20 minutes to get hot water. All that water going down the drain.
I love that.
I'm gonna throw in a question from the producer's desk. I know tankless, if you put it on a recirc, you used to have a storage tank involved in that too. Have we gotten away from that? Or
We
do
have.
systems still use the storage tank?
Well, the Navien does have a buffer tank inside. of
Correct.
it.
There's a small 2-liter buffer tank inside of the Navien heater. Anything under 2 gallons still qualifies as Energy Star efficient tankless water heaters.
Okay.
You know, you get above 2 gallons, you're a tank now. So you under a different umbrella when you get to the Energy Star ratings. But less than that 2 gallons, which we're at 2 liters, our units still qualify for that Energy Star, high efficiency. We're actually at 97% efficiency rating on our appliance. But you're right, with recirculation, the old way was tankless water heater. If you want to recirc, you got to put a small electric water heater. Well, what was the point of putting tankless if you're
Yeah.
putting that electric water heater right underneath it on the ground?
Right.
You know, the whole concept of tankless is get it on the wall, get it out of the way, save some space. You got to put that small electric tank water heater on the ground and recirculate through that. You've just thrown the efficiency coalition right out of the equation. So yes, you used to have to do that. You don't need to do that anymore with our products. You can recirculate right through our units.
I love it. So, and that's why we probably sell Navien, is for that feature. And we're starting to sell a lot of those, right, Louie?
Yes.
A lot of tankless water heaters.
Yes. A
I
lot
just
of
sold one.
Yeah, a lot of customers are very. They're starting to ask a lot of questions about tanklesses, which is pretty awesome because you want to get away from the tank. It's such a scary thing if you really think about it. Like mine, I still have a tank, 50 gallon, and now it's starting to sound like it's making popcorn. So now I'm like, man, how much water am I really heating up? You know, because how much sediment is in there that it's starting to cook. You know what I'm saying? And it's like with the tankless, it's just so convenient. It's just I think there's more pros and cons. The only cons I see is like really, like the vent issue, stuff like
It's just if you're not qualified to have tankless, that's the only con. Like, oh, you live in a situation where like tankless is just not for you. That's the only con.
yeah.
The biggest add-on to that fact was, Phoenix. You go back to the 1970s, and they didn't put gas in every community. We've got
Right.
lots of pockets of homes that have electric only. And there are electric tankless brands out there. We represent one of them, but obviously we're talking about gas appliances today.
Sure.
And most of your new construction is all going to be gas. And
I'm
yeah,
glad you brought that up.
that was one of
Jack.
the things is, if you're an electric only neighborhood, that qualifies you as maybe not the right customer.
Right.
Yeah,
You
'cause-
just
and
can't
there
get
is-
the GPM on
Correct.
the electric that you can on gas.
Right.
There's just they haven't figured it out yet.
Correct.
Well, I'm glad we brought that up because there is a lot of pockets here in the valley and probably throughout the United States where it's just electric. Probably in the Southwest.
It's not.
in the Southwest mostly.
Florida, Arizona are the big markets.
Yeah.
We get that question all the time. Hey, when's Navien going to make an electric tankless water heater?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you take out central Phoenix and some small pockets of Florida. Everywhere else in the world has gas.
Mm-hmm.
So that's Landon said it exactly right. With electric tankless water heaters, you get 3 gallons per minute out of it, just enough to do one shower. That doesn't fit in a lot of our bigger homes.
No, it does not.
Yeah.
So let's wrap it up a little bit. You talked a little about the ROI, the payback, and I have here that it's usually about 20 to 25% monthly savings on your gas.
On your gas, yeah, your gas fuel usage. We made a little bit of a story with the producer earlier about the usage. If you've got a 50-gallon tank water heater and you go to a high efficiency tankless water heater, the comment of you should save about 20 to 25%. However, if you've got a family of 5 and with that 50-gallon tank, you all were limited to 5-minute showers, so everybody got a hot shower. Right. Now that it's endless hot water, everybody's taking a 15 or a 20-minute shower. You're not going to see as much of a savings.
Right. In that, and we joked about the Wi-Fi where you could turn it off.
Yeah.
If one of your kids is in there taking an hour shower, hopefully not. I don't know what they're doing in that shower.
Pull up the app and just turn the heater off. It goes cold.
Turn it off
immediately.
I know you didn't shower. I turned the Wi-Fi off.
So yeah, it's depending on. I could see how I would
Yeah.
take longer showers after having all that.
It's luxury.
And
Well, it's always in the back of my
hot
mind when I'm
water.
in the shower because it's like, say you're getting ready to go somewhere, and it's like you don't want to take that extra long shower. You know what I mean? And then it's like, you get yelled at by the wife. Like, hey, I took a cold shower, by the way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like there's so many pros. To me, I love tankless. It's just simply because it's just like there's just hot water whenever you want.
I know it's cool.
It's really cool.
It is really cool
Now,
stuff.
here's a question I have real quick before we wrap it up.
Yeah.
Summertime. What do you do with a tankless?
It just doesn't run as much. Like it has a.
So is
it
that
can-
where the
it can
savings
dial
come in?
itself down.
So is that where you save more money though? Is that where you really
You always save money in the summer when it comes to hot water
Right.
in
Yeah,
Arizona
that's right.
because everything's in the
Hotter
garage.
yeah.
So it does always save water. He probably knows a little bit more of the actual saying when it's like a 15-to-1, right? So
15 to 1 turn down ratio
Yeah,
now.
turn down
so
ratio.
yeah.
Wow.
For the
That's
summer
a
here.
huge modulation in the summertime. When the
that's
groundwater
awesome.
coming is 92, 93 degrees, most people don't need a big spike to shower. They're showering at 103 or 104. It's a 7-degree temperature rise. That's
So
no
if
problem with a tank type water heater. You can set it at, exactly where you want with tankless because there's a flow requirement. You got to
Wow.
tell that water heater to turn on based on flow. Well, when the ambient temperature is 120, groundwater coming in is 92, you don't even want a hot shower. People typically are asking, how do I get a cold shower in Phoenix?
right,
And that makes it very challenging for tankless water heaters. Well, this new unit that we just came out with in 2021, our version 2, actually went to a 15 to 1 turn down ratio, and adding those additional steps of modulation, my God, what a difference it's going to make.
So,
Wow.
so can a homeowner then have it like a programmable thermostat where during those months it can go down?
You don't really need to with
It does
tankless
it
because it's
itself,
off.
yeah.
It's off most of the time anyway. Whereas like the tank, you can go in and put it on what they call vacation mode, which a lot of people do, and it just doesn't heat as much
Right.
because you don't need as much hot water. Where with tankless, you just ask for less out of the mix of your shower. The heater does it on its own.
Okay.
That is
Save-
pretty cool.
It saves you
Yeah,
the
there's
gas
some really
and saves
cool
you the
features
money
coming
all
out.
on its own.
Yeah.
I need to catch up with Navien because I didn't know all this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the new NPE 240
Version
and
2.
180 version 2.
Yeah, they just
A2.
launched in March of 2021 this month.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's
Wow.
really cool things coming off from Navien right now.
That's
super
so
cool.
cool. That's
Yeah.
really cool.
Well, Jack, thanks for joining us, man.
Yeah.
I could talk about this a lot longer because I have a lot of questions. In fact, Jonathan, this has probably been our longest show ever, right?
Actually, yeah, for shoot duration, yes.
Yeah.
For
Cool.
outtakes and bloopers, no, but
That's true.
footage, yes.
You
That's true.
are.
So yeah, thanks for joining us, gentlemen.
Thank you, Jack. Really appreciate
thank
you.
you.
being
Thank you,
here.
guys.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
so for all our listeners, go ahead and comment. If you have any questions on this episode, please go ahead and leave them below and like it, subscribe to it. We'll be next week. We'll be talking about some more plumbing stuff. We're going to talk about some remodels, some bathroom remodel stuff, and kitchen remodel, what things we can do in those remodels, especially going on right now. People getting these big stimulus money,
Correct.
getting the tax returns. We're seeing a lot more people improving their homes because they're
They're
keeping
stuck
their
in 'em.
homes.
They're still at, yeah, a lot of people still at home. They're getting tired of
They're
looking at
either
that
stuck in
kitchen.
'em,
Yeah.
and the price of these homes has gone out the roof, and they're just staying and
Equity and
taking
yeah.
money out. So we'll talk about that next week. So thank you for joining us.
Awesome.
Thanks
Thank you,
for,
Penguin.
Thank you.
Jack, for
Thank you,
joining
Jack.
us.
Really.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Have a good week, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.